Star Wars fans, Book of Boba Fett Episode 3 happens this week. It's time to do our weekly preview video. Temura Morrison has been teasing out some incredible stuff to come in this show. Let's break it down. What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerdbender's Tower. As per usual, smash a like on this video if you are loving Book of Boba so far and excited to see what is to come. So I want to begin with some teases out there from Temura Morrison and other outlets as well, talking about the Book of Boba Fett. But I want to be very clear. A lot of what we'll discuss in this first part of the video will probably refer to things that are happening towards the end of the Book of Boba Fett show. And after we go over that, we'll double back to what I think will happen in episode 3, and I think there are two major things that will go down. So first, let's look at this interview here. This was from TV Line with Ming-Na and with Temura, and it's so funny because at the beginning of this interview, Ming-Na tells Temura, like, watch out for this guy, he's got sneaky questions. And then here's one of the sneaky questions he asked right here, and Tem kind of slips up a little bit. Check this out. I want you to hear this.
The season unfolds.
Oh, yes.
See, I told you he was sneaky. Shh, don't say anything.
Oh, no, that's why we're not allowed to mention too much about these incoming actors. But yeah, we look forward to some, that's just the beginning. There's some colorful chaps coming in to upset the works. And that's a part of this wonderful series too, the introduction of all these elements that come in.
I like that. Elements, yes.
This guy's good, all right. He's trying to get some stuff out of us. I got to be careful. I talk too much.
So the question was about upcoming villains in the show, and so that's the answer that Tem gives there. I love the energy between these two, by the way. It's such a blessing, honestly, to the fandom to have these two, Ming-Na and Temura Morrison, working together. It's really, really fun stuff. And so, as he says here, this is a big part of what is to come, right? He's talking about how some colorful chaps are coming in. That's a big part of what the show is going to be. And this sort of speaks to this element of like cameos, connective tissue, the Star Wars MCU. Before I sort of dive full on into that, I do want to do one more thing here. This is another slight slip up from Temura Morrison here, talking about a crazy scene on a gunship.
This is a great scene when we're on the gunship and we're both cruising.
Is that in The Mandalorian? No.
There was this great scene that I was going to talk about, but great scene.
Oh, it's getting warm in here.
Great scene when they're on a gunship together.
On
like
that note, you guys know that we're super excited for the rest of the series. I'm super excited for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Oh, man, she cut him off, man. He was about to Tom Holland us here. But regardless, super, super fun stuff. So he's talking about a crazy scene on a gunship here, okay? And also referring to just these colorful chaps coming in, the elements coming in, and it's a big part of where the show is going. Now, I want to jump to this story because this is all going to tie together with my sort of first point here as far as previewing episode 3 of Book of Boba Fett, but what is to come after that, okay? Now, this is on the direct. It says here, Dave Filoni writes Boba Fett Chapter 6. A production listing for the Book of Boba Fett officially released by Disney confirms that Dave Filoni served as a writer for episode 6, set to debut on Disney Plus on February 2nd, 2022. Filoni shares credit with series executive producer Jon Favreau, who wrote the rest of the episodes in the series. So Dave wrote the penultimate episode in the Book of Boba Fett. The entire series was written by Jon Favreau, but Dave comes in as a writer on episode 6. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, it all has to do with this sort of promise of where the Filoni-Verse is going. I mean, this was maybe more obvious when we were in the midst of Mandalorian Season 2, where you had a lot of Filoni's characters showing up in that series. You had characters from other novels, and there was sort of this doubling down of connective tissue. And again, I talked about this back then as sort of being the Filoni-Verse, that what Jon and Dave were doing with The Mandalorian and all the shows that will spin out from that is setting up something very similar to what the MCU has as far as other characters crossing between projects, cool cameos, a lot of fun fan service. And when you add to that all the talk that Temura's almost giving away about all the crazy things that are coming, I just think that it's buckle up time for the Book of Boba Fett, and Star Wars fans should expect that the back half of this show has a ton of familiar faces, wide concepts, very cool bridging ideas, and I believe episode 6 is going to really show us where the future of the Filoni-Verse is going to. Now, when this news broke, many fans just immediately assumed Ahsoka will be in episode 6, and that is a good bet, as that is what happened in Mandalorian Season 2. The episode that Dave wrote and directed was the Ahsoka episode, and the Ahsoka show is one of the big shows coming up, not only for Star Wars, but for the Filoni-Verse. It would kind of make sense for them to have a spin-out sort of episode that deals with stuff that is going on in the Ahsoka show. And so I absolutely believe that Ahsoka could be in that episode, but so could Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I think he could be either mentioned or seen, or maybe both. Maybe they tease him out a little bit and then he is eventually seen. And I can't help but think of the thing that Temura said about the gunship. Right now, the Book of Boba Fett is sort of enclosed to, you know, the Hutt conflict, the conflicts on Tatooine, the flashback stuff, but a gunship, that's crazy, man. That reminds me of stuff from Mando Season 2, where you get that big Imperial gunship, the Imperial Remnant, Moff Gideon, a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it's possible we might see Boba and Fennec actually go be a part of some crazy thing that's going on an actual gunship, leading us to a place of Imperial involvement, and therefore Grand Admiral Thrawn's involved. And so to sort of put a bow on this first part of this video here, as far as predictions for Book of Boba Fett, I'm just telling you guys, I think this show is going to get better and better each episode, not only from a story perspective of what is going on with Boba, but also for the wider scope of Star Wars. I still absolutely believe this show is going to be full of a ton of crazy cameos, hyped up appearances, possible hints at Thrawn and big things coming. It is going to blow minds. It just has gotten off to a more intimate start with the character of Boba Fett, which I'm personally here for. But Star Wars fans are in sort of a weird spot with this show and with the brand of Star Wars in general. A lot of folks that are defending the first couple episodes of Boba are saying that cameos ruined shows, and that the cameos and this constant like popping up of crazy wild characters is something that should be left over at Marvel. Like, I feel this weird thing going on right now where there are some people that are not that pumped about Boba because it's not crazy connective tissue, tons of cameos, MCU type stuff, and they are getting scolded by fans that currently like the Book of Boba Fett. But those fans that currently like it, they don't like the cameo stuff, which is where I think it is going. So it's a really interesting situation where Star Wars is forming its new identity, especially in the Filoni-Verse. It's doing this thing. We've been talking about it at great lengths for a long time. I just wonder, how are Star Wars fans going to feel about this? Will this be a big celebrated thing? Will it cause more division? I don't know. My personal take on this is that this is exactly what Star Wars needs to do. They need to have noteworthy, remarkable things happening, things to theorize about, to discuss on social media, to make videos about, to do live streams about. That's the kind of energy that Star Wars needs, rather than just sort of lingering around, you know, thinking about the lack of announcements, thinking about how bad the sequel trilogy was, etc., etc. We need big wins. We need this show to do big things, and I believe those big things are coming. But now let's talk about the episode itself. Specifically in episode 3, what do we expect? What do we think is going on? Obviously, Black Karrsantan is going to be a big part of the show. I think you're going to get a face down between Boba and BK in this episode, but there's also going to be a large part of the flashback sequences. I feel like we need a resolution to the flashback. And this is where my first crazy prediction for episode 3 is going to come in, and that is that I believe you will see Din Djarin in the flashbacks for the Book of Boba Fett. I think he's going to actually perhaps even see sequences from episode 5 of season 1 of Mandalorian, where we see Fennec get shot down and left for dead out in the sands of Tatooine. But I think in order to get to that place, the tribe is essentially going to have to part ways with Boba. I believe they'll be very grateful for him, but due to the spirit walk and that vision, I believe they're going to part ways with him, understanding that Boba has to go walk his own path. And I think we may see him rehabilitating Fennec Shand as a part of that. And then I think it might even fast forward to the part of Mandalorian Season 2, which opens with the crazy crate dragon scenario. I think this might be something that really is an inciting incident for Boba. And after he sees Cobb Vanth in his own armor and the Mandalorian Din Djarin fighting against the crate dragon, he will be called to action. He will want to get his armor back, join the fold, help Tatooine, and also help the baby, help Din Djarin, help his mission. And that would be a heck of a lot to throw into a singular episode, but I really feel like we need to end that chapter correctly. I absolutely love what they've been doing with the flashbacks, and I think it really lets us appreciate where the character of Boba Fett is. But we know some things are coming, like him saving her and him going after his own armor. I wouldn't be surprised if you see both of those things sort of wrapped up in episode 3. Let's talk about Black Karrsantan, the crazy Wookiee bounty hunter who did actually have his scar that Obi-Wan gave him on Tatooine. Dude's hard as nails. You don't tease something like that without having it pay off, and I think we're all expecting a big old fight between Boba and BK in this episode. I guess the question is, how's that fight going to go down? Is Boba going to try to get help from maybe a Bosk or a Dengar or one of his old bounty hunter friends? Or will he just straight up one-on-one beat BK and then force the Hutts to seek other bounty hunters to continue to come after Boba? Because this whole thing with the Hutts, that's not going away. That's a big time conflict. And I actually think the mayor and Boba might actually have to work together to stop the Hutts. Now, I also think that what's going on in space out there at this time with the Hutts and the consolidation of power, it is somewhat of concern to the New Republic. And so I wouldn't be surprised if some New Republic people went out there and started checking in on what was going on as well. This opens up the opportunity for all kinds of cameos. You know, this Han Solo rumor, this Luke Skywalker rumor, tons of rumors of how that could be playing into the show as well. But I guess what I'm really anticipating is wrapping up the flashback sequences, maybe some Din Djarin shown back then, and then in the present time, I do expect a payoff of that fight with BK and with Boba Fett, and perhaps the introduction of another crazy bounty hunter, which I personally think will be perfect and set the show up for an incredible episode 4 and back half of the season. I'm loving the Book of Boba Fett. I'm loving the new direction Star Wars is in. Long live the Filoni-Verse, and I am here for it. But what do you think? Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to this channel, see more of our content pop up in your recommended feed. Check me out on TikTok, check out the podcast on Spotify and Apple, and don't you dare miss those live streams, man. We have a ton of fun over there. We do watch parties for the Book of Boba Fett, live stream taking questions from you guys multiple times during the week. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.